Yeah, like in the mock-up fake level that I have, right? That street thing could definitely be used on the bottom level. That is
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think I'll start with that because it's easy to do. I'll refine something that looks like that. And then I also thought, man, it'd be cool to also have like a bus stop and have people like get on buses and drive off.
Bus drive across that covers things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It would look really nice. And that's a good reason for people to line up and stuff like that. You should even be able to get on the bus and then just get dropped off screen and walk back in screen if you want.
Are you doing hitboxes or something now?
No, I was showing Dave. Here, I'll show you what it looks like here. We'll do the same test with you.
Hold on.
I've also done my own mock-up, Chris.
Okay.
I would like to watch mine.
I gotta pull it off the screen so that you don't see the guy.
Did a lot of coding for this. I really tested my my programming skills.
All right.
Are you watching?
I'm watching yours.
All right, ready?
All of those purple or pink lines will be in the actual game.
Hello.
Alright.
Nice.
So, can you tell, Chris, which one is the real me? Ready?
Don't get self-conscious. It took me forever.
Can you make it? Can you make it bigger?
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna pull it back off and I'll restart it because I don't want it to do anything funky. Alright. Don't look for a second because it's obvious when I hit the host button.
Okay.
Because he warps in.
I'm not looking.
Go! Okay, go.
Ugh.
This is gonna be impossible. This is like this is like
what I said.
and like as long as they're all the same sprite at least that I don't think there's any way I could tell.
There is an obvious way. When you see it, you will.
There is, but it's,
Yeah.
it's not super
It's
obvious.
subtle, but when you see it, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's definitely you. You'll know it when you see it.
It's not an on-purpose thing. It's
Is it a
like the
collision
people-
box thing?
It's a sort of, yeah.
It's
Is
a
it
layering thing.
Where you're are you always in back of everyone or always in front maybe?
To a degree, that is definitely the right direction that you're going. Maybe take that to the extreme of always being in back of everything. For
Oh,
example, the level.
are you behind the red line? Like is the red ground behind you or in front of you?
In front of me, yep, yeah. Can you see me? I've been walking around in a pretty
I still don't see you
out in the
though.
open. I'm on the top level.
You're on the top level. Okay, yes, I see you now.
Yeah.
I do actually kind of like that they're colliding with like a lower area, almost like of
Like
the
they're walking on a sidewalk.
yeah, like a conveyor belt type game. Like there's a little bit of depth to it. I think that's neat.
Like right now, the reason why I don't think this works well for a street is because you have too many instances of people just fucking turning around for no reason. Like if you're on a real street, you know where you're going.
You can just do screen wrap, and then change their sprite as soon as they screen wrap.
Oh, I was just gonna say once they're off, they'll have the possibility to rejoin the fray. Essentially, if they're off the screen, they have the possibility. That's how it works right now. I just don't have the width set right. They do wait here at the end of the screen until they just happen to get a behavior that sends them back. But I just don't want people Like, I don't want the case where people just switch back right away. For
No,
no
screen
reason.
wrap would mean like they
They literally wrap around back around.
Yeah, they wrap around.
But I don't see the need to do like I don't want to teleport them over. There's no need to do that. Right?
You don't even need all you need to do it's a setting. I'm pretty sure like it's just a room setting that you set with a line of code. So like you could have them exit the screen, wait a random amount of seconds, switch their.
I mean, why even bother? Just have them sit off the screen and then they can come back on when they're ready. Like there is a behavior that sends them back onto the screen. There's no reason to do any wrapping for if we don't need to, unless we want the player to be able to do that. But the point is the biggest issue is this thing of people literally changing their direction in the middle of the road for no reason. It looks weird when people do that. Because why would they? Though a lot of people, it doesn't happen too frequently. But yeah, here that guy just did it. Like why? I guess he could have forgotten something, but that should be a rare occurrence.
I don't think anyone's gonna think about like.
Yeah, Marcus is like.
This is like.
This guy. That's how you should design AI.
It's very neat. Yeah.
Like this guy, just the idea of like this guy's definitely like not an AI because like he turned around and get his wallet twice. That's a player. Like I think that's funny.
Like I think it would be cool if in the game the person said, "Why would someone turn around in the middle of the street?" Like that didn't make sense. I knew that would be you.
Well, the thing is like if you don't make if an NPC can't do that, eventually if you're gonna be playing this game a few times in a row, if a NPC can't do it, then eventually players can never do it because it will out them if it's seen. So it's just just what do you want?
Yeah, but defining, figuring out those behaviors, I think, is part of the fun, right?
I like it. I think it's cool.
The main thing I think when I see this is, well, if you weren't behind the thing, they're literally like
they have different heights, so if it's something about a height thing,
no. I'm just like what I'm saying is they're like it's relatively easy to or maybe you should have to do maybe your run speed as a player should be slightly faster when you're fully pressing the analog stick than a walking NPC, so that it's not easy to just hold your stick to the right or left, because there is no, there are no tells really. Like if you're just holding your stick to the left or right.
Yeah, I mean right now there's no real tells. But that's something that we'll have to figure out. We'll have to entice people. But I like the idea that we can allow you to sprint if we want or something like that. But I don't think you should be any faster than someone else. Well, maybe we could just make it so ever so slightly faster.
Something like that. Something
like so almost unrecognizable unless you are really looking at it.
But then just does it then become, or do we want to make it easy to fit in with the crowds? Do we want to make that an easy?
You should be able to sprint, because like of those situations where like we said like the bus is driving across, you should be able to sprint with the bus behind it for as long as you can and try to time it so that you're walking again when it passes.
Yeah. There probably should be a sprint. We can even let AI sprint. Like we could program a behavior that's like, oh, missed the bus.
As long as it makes sense.
I noticed you have vents in your mock-up, Dave. Like, do you picture there ever being anything where, like, if you're behind it, you can see behind it?
Well, the vents, the thing would be like you get in the vents and you crawl through it to get to different parts of the.
But like from your point of view, you can see in the vents, but to everyone else's point of view, it is you are covered, right?
Yeah, and people wouldn't see you in there. I mean, maybe the vents shake or something when you move through them, so you have to go slow or something.
I like the idea of having things like that, or even small, yeah, or even like almost a layer behind the level that you could move in small bits through, like vents and bathrooms or whatever. Like where if you happen to end up in there with another player, you'd be like, oh shit, like we see each other now. I like the idea of like a street, like a one large-ish sort of building to the right, and then like a smaller building to the left, and like something like a bazaar or something between them, where there's like.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm just wondering, like, what's the best like prototype level? Not like that. That does sound like a very cool, actual level.
I think a prototype level we want at most 3 levels to it.
Well, really, it doesn't really matter. Like we need to build all the pieces, right? So then you could just like build levels quickly and.
Yeah, that's true.
How do we like? What stuff do we put like you said with the bus? What stuff do we put that can act as your shield as you pass from thing to thing in areas where there's nothing to hide behind?
Like I said, a construction area where you have like some people carrying plywood.
A big sheet of glass.
Yeah.
The only thing you kind of couldn't hide behind. Big
It would be cool though if you had a big sheet of glass that actually obscured the visibility.
Like a mosaic.
Yeah.
A mirror. It reflects the actual player's face back at them somehow.
It's very ugly.
Some people are like colliding at different levels with the ground though. Weirdly.
Yeah, I put them on different heights, so that.
Oh, okay.
Easiest way for me to I was like, I don't feel like fine tuning the player's sprite hitbox to be able to, to get this just right. I'm just gonna put everybody on a slightly different height, because then it would kind of look nice that way anyway. To have people, have a little bit variance in your Y. Though I guess if you're there are some people that are technically below that should be passing in front of people. That's something we'll have to have.
Yeah, you'll need to make to get something to look quite right. I would make a thing that on every a local thing that considers everything's Y position and sorts a list in that order, and then draws everything in that order.
I don't even use the draw thing. There's no draw event occurring at all. It is just the built-in.
Some things, whatever's drawing them, one thing should be drawing all of them.
It's just their game objects. Each of these is a game object. They're just not being controlled by anything but they're a separate game object. They don't have any code in them, but we wanted them to all be game objects, right? So.
I'm saying though, it looks weird when a guy whose feet are higher than someone else's walks in front of them.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So,
but you were saying a draw event thing. Your solution was a draw event, but there is no draw event.
That's not what I said. I said one thing should put all of them into a list based on their Y position, and then draw them in the order of.
Is there not a depth setting on?
That does not work in Game Maker Studio 2 because it's. I don't know why.
Is it just a layer issue?
It is a draw order issue. Whatever gets drawn first is in front.
You can't say depth equals Y.
No, you cannot do depth equals negative Y anymore.
But there's a draw.
They can't let the engine go out without that. That's such a.
There's an instance create depth. What does that do?
That's just whether or not you that will draw. That will. Let me actually look it up.
create a new instance of specified object at any given point within the room and at the depth specified. The depth can be a value where the lower the depth, the nearer to the camera will be drawn, and the higher the depth, the further away. So that sounds like depth to me.
Yeah, this is how you would make
I just
a
swapped
list.
that out. Yeah.
You would make a list with all of them in it, and then use this to.
I don't even think I'd need to make the list, right? I'd just use instance.
It is 100% the most efficient way to do it.
Why is that? Why can't I just, when I create the instance, use instance create depth and just assign the depth based on the y value? Because then I just have to set it once. I don't have to maintain a list, and it's just created. It's attached to the object.
I suppose that works if you're never ever going to change anything's y.
Yeah, when they essentially, the way I see it is nothing.
But it's always it will always be. It will always work if the y never changes for anything. That will work. But it's still like. You know.
I find it to be super easy. That's way easier than having a list and then having to have something. Because then if you don't have the list, you have to do a draw event. And I don't want to do a draw event.
They're being
drawn by the built-in engine, so I don't have to worry about a draw
You don't
event.
need to make a draw event to do what I'm saying. In all
So
the
you would-
objects.
I would create a list. How would I edit their...
Whatever's drawing them now.
Which is the engine on its own. I don't have to do anything. It's just like when you say whatever's drawing them, it's the engine draws it. It's just the fact that it's a game object that has a spring.
Whatever object is controlling them now, you put it in that. Whatever one object is controlling them.
And the object that is controlling them, can you change their depth by just setting depth equals this?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure they took
How
out depth
would I
equals
change
negative y
something's-
because it was incredibly inefficient.
How would I change the depth then?
What do you mean?
So you're saying I put it in a list. What if I wanted to change the depth of something? Like, how does the list benefit me? By putting it in the list, how is it any different? If I like, how does the list allow me to change their y?
It doesn't. It allows. This is so that you don't have to put it on the object itself, because you seem hung up on that.
No, I'm fine with it as long as it's not a extraneous variable that doesn't need to be added. But if it's a built-in one that's going to be there anyway, I don't care.
And they're not objects, right? You said, or are they?
No, they are objects. Each of these is an object.
Okay.
The thing I wanted to make sure never happened.
So you can use object set depth,
running.
or you can use object set depth if their y ever changes.
Okay, so then that's how we would handle it.
Or if their y never changes, when you create them, you use instance create depth.
Yeah, so that's what the question I was asking. Object set depth. I don't see it coming up here. It still has this shit in its manual. The people that fucking yo-yo sucks.
Are you looking at the there's two manuals.
I'm looking at.
And the first thing I kind of just want
It's hard to tell what manual I'm looking at. It doesn't have a label anywhere.
order that is kind of determining what instances draw.
Game Maker Studio 2. Let's just look up.
What controls that draw order is actually the instance creation order. So
Alright, I'm in the Game Maker Studio 2 manual, and yeah, it still has a thing that says
where you
depth equals negative y.
layers at different depths. I kind of have to. Well, if I just have to do is make sure.
The setting, I seem to be able to set the depth directly.
Sequestered when the
I'm like 99% sure depth. So.
I literally just did it. Here, want to see it again here? So I'm at depth right now. Look at my character, right? Jumping. You see him?
Wait, on your so are there no more? The question is, are there no more people whose feet are higher than other people walking over?
No. I didn't do anything on there. Look at my character, the guy. See, so I'm in front of the background right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Now let's set my depth to behind the background.
This won't. This should not matter for background stuff. This should only matter if things among things on the same layer.
I mean, I'm on a different layer than the background, and I'm now behind the background by changing the depth.
Yeah. Yes. That's expected. What I'm saying is all those guys on the same layer, without moving them to another layer, depth equals negative y will not work anymore for that.
Let's see. I'm not so sure.
Okay. In GMS1, depth equals negative y served as a simple, fast, dependable way to sort your depth dynamically, especially for beginners. In GMS2, with the introduction of layers, it's easy to run into some trouble with this method. Doesn't say why, though.
Okay, so I see what the issue is. The issue is when things are on separate layers. So I just had to throw the player on the NPC layer, but everything else should then work. My guess is that the layers are offset by like hundreds, and when you do the negative y, it just take the depth. It's just a additive to that layer. Because the player right now still draws behind these sprites. But everything, all the other sprites seem to be working as they're supposed to.
As long as they don't ever.
As long as
they never change their Y, yes. No,
that's as long as they're on the same layer. If they change their Y, it won't matter. As long as because I can set the depth at the same time. But if I'm on the same layer, even if I'm not on the same layer, I could probably. It looks like I can override it by just setting such a great difference.
Forget about the player sprite for a minute. What I'm asking is, if all the NPCs who are walking around, if you start making them move up and down, will the ones who are closer to the top of the screen be drawn dynamically behind everything else as they move up and behind?
As long as whatever code I do that with, I also set the depth again as I'm doing it. So the code that says y equal, minus equals this should also set the depth at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes. And the player, essentially, the way depth seems to work is, my guess is that the layer, it just creates a giant offset where like each layer is offset by 100 of the depth or whatever it may be. Every layer is offset from 100 depth from each other, and then you can finesse it then by setting the depth manually within the layer. But by evidence of the fact that I was able to put myself behind the background, it looks like I could override that because it's probably a solid number.
So if you have if you have an object that's controlling all these guys, right? You do.
Mm-hmm.
So then on each of their their step code or whatever you're running in this one object, you're telling them to change
every step code, only when I first make them. There's nothing happening right now.
So then why you were saying though before that if they changed, if their Y,
if the behavior warrants, if a behavior said, hey, you're actually gonna move back towards the back of the room, you're gonna move up, your Y is gonna move upwards,
right?
Then at that point, I would have to add in code that changes the depth, but I don't need to do it if they're just walking left and right.
So what would you set their depth to at that point?
I would just do it as negative y again.
So then that would not necessarily get them to correctly draw in comparison.
No,
to the
it seems to work on the layer for sure. Look at that's
it's working. It is working right now because you set it when you create them and it's never changing.
And because it works on on its layer.
I just saw it. So that it just didn't work.
You're seeing me.
Yeah, but and your Y is changing, so that makes sense.
No, my Y isn't changing. My Y is.
Your Y is changing.
My depth is never changing. My depth never changes.
Right.
Because I have no code on the character script.
But it needs to be. But it needs to be if you're moving up and down.
I was just telling you that I have not done it for the character script. The character would first need to be on the same level as these guys, and I would also have to have step code handling that. But there is no step code handling.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure if you started having these guys move up and down by a few pixels,
I'm nearly positive that it would adjust normally as long as I included that depth adjustment with it.
Okay, test it. It might.
Because the people are going to be moving constantly, you're going to have to be updating it constantly.
Yes.
When that's the case. So, but the list, there's no reason to do a list, right? Well,
there is if this thing is running through each and every one of them and saying update your X position, update your Y position.
But I already have a list of the NPCs, and each of those NPCs already has a default value on them. Already has it as a built-in variable. So why would I make a separate list to hold their depth?
Because you're well, try this first, and then show me your code, and I'll explain what I mean.
So you're still behind. We're gonna just have to hope that we have someone cross over. Luckily, here, let's look at this guy. Ready?
So what I'm saying is yeah, see, he's not drawn at the right. That guy got drawn over top of him.
Let's see this guy again. Oh, that's because this guy's depth is never changing, maybe.
That's why you need the list, because you can't compare them without it. Like you need the list, and then you need to sort them in that way and draw them in that order. It will not work. Like, this isn't me just guessing. This is like.
Hold on.
This is
why would it work from the get-go then? I don't understand why it would work from the get-go.
Because it's never changing
If it ever works at all, then why does it work when I first program it? Then why does it not work now?
I don't know, and you could probably dig out the answer, but this is like what's the word I'm looking for? Not common knowledge, but like good best practices I've heard several people recommend this as best practice. Especially if you're doing a top-down game, which we're not, but...
I'm going to play around with it for a little bit to see if I can get it to work without having to do a draw event, because that sounds like a pain in the ass.
You're doing a draw event already, right? Something is drawing these.
I'm not doing a draw event. Remember, it is a game object with a sprite. That's it.
Right, but something... That game object... Where is this in that game object?
If I have a game object with a sprite, I don't need to do anything about it, right? It's just... It has its own built-in draw event. Object NPC has no code.
Yes, okay, and it's also more efficient because you turn that. There is a way to turn that draw event off. I think it's you create the draw event but make it blank, and then it will not have a draw event. And you have this one thing draw everything, and then.
But look, but then I have to go into the code of my AI controller and handle everything with draw functions. I don't want to do that.
You already are automatically.
I am not doing that. I'm setting. All I do is I create these NPC objects, these game objects, and then all I do, it has an image speed, and then I just change.
Do you have a draw event?
Right. There's no draw event right here.
There's no draw event. Then they are drawing.
They're
the only
drawing.
only way you don't actually have a draw event for an object is if you make it.
I know that they're drawing, but I don't have to write any code for it.
But I'm saying processing-wise, they are all taking up memory for a draw event unless you create a draw event, leave it blank, and have one thing control it, and it is a
yeah. But
million
if
times
I have
more
one
efficient.
thing control it, it doesn't matter. It's still that one thing is still I have to then write all this draw code for every single fucking step of the way. That means all.
No, you don't. You just do draw self. You do draw self, and it will do everything it does.
Draw, but that wouldn't be able to control external objects.
Control them in what way?
So draw self would draw its own sprite, right? But it wouldn't control the sprites that I want to draw for all the 100 other objects that I need to draw.
Hold on.
Why? I'm just gonna see if I can get this depth thing working on my own here, because I would prefer to just keep the way it is, because this is easy. Otherwise,
Coding wise, it's easy, but like
the way that you want to do it would require that I have events in my AI, the controller, that say, okay, draw this sprite at this location now, here. Draw this sprite at this location at this frame here. Draw this sprite at this location, this frame here. Every single step.
Maybe I'm not sure how you've done your code. I'm not 100% sure how you've done your code. Run it one more time. That's
the only way that you can have the draw event that is not within the object itself.
Sorry, repeat that.
That's the only way that you can have the thing draw the sprite for an object that's not within the object itself.
No, it's more like no. You take control of the object itself after you put it in the list. You take control of the object itself and do draw self, and it does the same thing. So you use with.
So with but then the object's still drawing on its own. It's still stored in here. It's still stored just like this.
It is, but then you can save its reference position in the list and.
But then how do you update depth?
What?
How do you update depth with that?
It's the same way you're doing it now. Or no, you don't update the depth. Actually, I don't think you don't actually update the depth. You just.
So then you have to draw it. You're using a draw event to draw them. I would go into here and my AI. I would create a draw event, and then I would write code to fucking draw them every step of the way, which I find to be.
No, it would be. This is the whole code. It's for I equals 0 to number of instance objects of NPC.
For loops for all the instances.
Yeah. For loop. Put them all in a thing or in a DS list. Sort the list by their Y value, and then go in and then another for loop. Go through each thing in that list and in the order that they're in. And with that object, draw self. That's it.
I see what you're saying. That seems ridiculous. That's how they have to control the depth.
If you think about it, though,
a better way.
I
see how that works. But that feels like extra work that it doesn't need to happen. Because unless Game Maker is really that poorly designed.
They took Y. There's one or two possibilities. Either they took negative Y out for a reason, or they made this new layer.
The point is, like, why can I do that in Unity with no problem? There's literally a depth setting, and I don't have to worry about it, and I can change the depth whenever I want. Like, the fact that it just sort of, if this is true, and that's how you have to handle depth in Game Maker, then man, Game Maker sucks.
I think you're right about like the layers, like they set, like they're set probably way far apart from each other, but then I think it has something to do with the order that they're drawn in that.
My guess is that there seems to be an instance depth that I'm not getting past. My guess is that each instance object is given its own depth too, so that when I have a Y going down, let's say I have object 1 and object 100, and they're near the same layer, but if I'm moving my object 1 down, because there's such that gap, that 99 integer gap between their depths, it's not going to, even though I'm not lowering my Y, it's not going to account for the instance difference, the difference because that is created by the fact that the instances have their own depths offset by 1, which I'm guessing that's the way it works. And man, what a dumb system! It makes me wish we used Unity, because I'm just finding a ton of things like with the DS map thing. Man, what another stupid thing to do. Why can't I just use a dictionary like every other programming language in the world has? and the dictionary is the most efficient method.
What's the
of doing
difference
it.
between the map and the dictionary?
The map works like a node in that in order to find the map, in order to find the key in a map, you have to search through every single value until you find it. So it'll go start to finish until it finds it. A DS or a true dictionary doesn't need to do that. It's stored in a memory location based on a hash map, and because it's a hashed value, all you do is you give it the key, it hashes the key, and it knows exactly where it is. It doesn't need to go looking through each entry into the dictionary. It says, "Oh, I know. I blocked out this space for the dictionary. Let's hash it. I found it. Oh, this is exactly where it is." What a dumb thing! Like the game maker has made it super slow and doesn't include that data structure in their language. Like what a terrible fucking engine. But anyway, I'm gonna still try to figure out if I can get this to work the way it's working now, because I would like it to work with that kind of depth thing, and I do think it's a little silly that you have to literally have an object telling all the other objects to draw self again every step of the way.
It's not again. It's not again.
No, it's again. It is again.
No, it's not. It is if you have no draw event in there, or if you have a draw event that has draw self in it. But if you create the draw event in the object and leave it blank, it will omit the draw event. So you're telling it to draw for the first time.
But then, what about how do I handle the? Oh, I guess okay. I see what you're saying. So I would have to come up here, put a draw event in there,
blank draw
and
event,
then leave it blank.
Yes.
And it won't draw.
And it will omit the draw event entirely.
Still stupid. Still stupid that you have to do that at all. But I guess we could do that for the Y stuff. Because that now we're gonna have stuff that is always,
It really actually it does really kind of
I didn't have to worry about it. Before I didn't have to worry about it, right? I guess I can still do that here, and do npc dot. Is it npc dot draw self or with npc draw self?
With npc, yeah, draw self.
I wonder if I can override it here.
Like, yeah, you probably can.
Is it draw like that?
So if that's where you're updating the depth, that probably works too. But and that maybe even does work the best, because you're just saying.
I only want to do it when you need
Change it when it's changing. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's still silly. I found that to be so dumb. Like, why not just? Why is it so complicated? Why when Unity does it so much better or so well? Let's see if this works.
I don't know. I haven't used Unity 2D, so I don't know. Like, it's especially easy in 3D, right? Because all you want is
there's a Z axis that is controllable.
Yeah, and there's a Z axis, and then there's like a sort of a Z for your.
No, it doesn't look like it works here. I think I just saw someone pass and not. Yeah, this guy should be.
I'd have to look at your code to see when. Because they need to. I'm pretty sure you need the list. I'm like. There's probably if you really...
yeah, no, I see. You need the list because you need to because it's purely in the order that they are being drawn.
Right, exactly.
Which is dumb. So you can't control anything. You can't control anything's depth. The depth is just going to be set in the order they're drawn, no matter what, which is dumb.
Goofy King agrees we should just move to Unity. All right.
I'm gonna see if I can find another workaround, but if I can't, I'll just put in your workaround. It is working. Maybe it's just the seed doesn't happen to show anything.
Yeah, I don't know why. It might be that if you're creating them all, right?
Yeah, it's in the create event, but it's after the creation that I do it. Yeah, it seems to work, as far as I can tell. I don't see anybody that's above someone that's higher up than someone drawing ahead of them. It's also dumb that Game Maker has a the manual has a has that as their example for depth. It doesn't have something that says, "Hey, depth doesn't actually set the draw order."
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure a lot of their manual is just left over from the old manual. The stuff that's been deprecated is it's just still sitting in there for whatever reason. Okay.